Have you ever felt like a certain sign keeps showing up in your life, almost as if it's following you? Maybe it's a number that repeats everywhere you go, a symbol that seems to appear in the most unlikely places, or a strange coincidence that keeps returning no matter how much you try to ignore it. At first, it might feel like a harmless pattern, something small enough to dismiss as chance. But then, it happens again, and again. And at some point, you start to wonder whether these signs are actually trying to tell you something. You begin to question whether there's a message beneath the surface, something meant specifically for you. Many people move through life completely unaware of the signals unfolding around them. They experience synchronicities, but brush them aside because they believe everything must be explained by logic or randomness. They want signs to fit neatly into a category that makes sense, so they ignore the feeling that something deeper might be at play. But a smaller group, a more perceptive group, recognizes that not all signs are noise. Some carry weight. Some tug at your awareness in a way that defies coincidence. If you're watching this video, chances are you belong to the group that notices patterns that others overlook. You're sensitive to shifts in energy, timing, and meaning. You don't just see a sign, you feel the resonance behind it. Synchronicities have a peculiar way of appearing at the exact moment you're questioning your direction, doubting your purpose, or standing at the edge of a major transition. These moments are rarely random. They often surface when something within you is preparing to change, or when life is nudging you toward a path that aligns more closely with who you're meant to become. The signs around you aren't appearing just to catch your attention. They're appearing to confirm that you're not imagining the shift happening in your inner world. They're markers along a path you're being guided to walk. This video will help you understand why these signs keep appearing in your life, and what they reveal about your role as the chosen one. That phrase isn't about superiority or ego. It's about being someone who is awakening to a layer of reality that most people never explore. Being chosen simply means you are attuned enough to recognize when life is speaking to you in ways that go beyond the physical. It means you're capable of understanding the hidden architecture behind your experiences. When signs appear repeatedly, they are often pointing you toward a specific purpose, a specific transformation, or a specific truth about yourself that is ready to emerge. Throughout this video, we will break down the nature of these signs, the patterns behind them, and the deeper meaning they may hold for you. We'll look at why these synchronicities intensify during certain phases of your life, and why they tend to appear more frequently when you're standing at the threshold of personal evolution. We'll also explore what it means to be someone who sees these signs clearly when others overlook them entirely, and what that reveals about your inner sensitivity and direction. If these experiences sound familiar, you're in the right place. If you've ever wondered why these patterns keep showing up, why they follow you across moments, days, or even years, this video will give you the clarity you've been looking for. There is meaning behind what you're noticing. There is intention behind what you're being shown. And the fact that you're here, watching this now, is part of that intention. If you want more content like this, and you'd like to continue exploring these deeper layers of your journey, make sure to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. When people begin noticing signs in their lives, the first thing they often encounter is a sense of repetition. Something shows up more than once, then again, and eventually it becomes impossible to ignore. One of the most common forms of these signs is repeating numbers. You might glance at the clock and see 111, then later notice a receipt totaling 11.10, and hours later find yourself parked behind a car with a license plate containing 111. Another day you might see 222 everywhere you turn, or 444, or 555. These patterns show up in timestamps, phone numbers, street addresses, and digital notifications. While the numbers themselves may seem ordinary, the frequency with which they appear can create a feeling that something is aligning around you. It's not the number that matters, but the recurrence. It's the persistent echo that catches your attention and makes you wonder what's happening beneath the surface of your daily routine. Recurring dreams are another form of sign that tends to appear during moments of internal transition. These dreams might not be identical each time, but they carry similar themes, places, or emotional tones. You might find yourself walking down the same road night after night, or encountering the same figure, or facing the same symbolic event, such as crossing a bridge, missing a train, or witnessing a storm. Dreams are one of the oldest communication channels of the subconscious mind. When something repeats itself there, it's often because your deeper self is attempting to bring forward a message that you haven't fully received in the waking world. These dreams act as mirrors, reflecting something essential you need to acknowledge, understand, or confront. They draw your attention to unresolved internal dynamics or upcoming shifts in your life that your conscious mind has not yet articulated. Repeated symbols also appear during these periods. These symbols can take many forms: animals that show up across different contexts, shapes or patterns that appear in artwork, media, or nature, or even objects associated with a memory or inner feeling. Someone might repeatedly see butterflies during a period of personal transformation. Another person might constantly encounter images of keys when they are on the verge of unlocking something important in their life. Someone else might keep seeing a particular flower or colour that seems oddly persistent, showing up in places where it shouldn't logically appear. These symbols often carry emotional resonance, even before their meaning becomes clear. Their repetition is what signals that they are worth paying attention to. When the world around you reflects the same idea back to you through multiple, unrelated situations, it is rarely meaningless. Another powerful form of sign is the repetition of phrases. You might hear the same sentence from different people who have no connection to each other. You might hear a particular line in a movie, then see it printed on a poster the next day, and later overhear a stranger say something almost identical. When a phrase repeats itself across independent contexts, it often acts as a subtle nudge, pushing you toward a thought, a realization, or a decision you've hesitated to make. Language has a way of piercing through resistance when it's framed as something external. A phrase that repeats itself often carries a quality of confirmation, as though the world is emphasizing what you already suspected, but were unsure about. These different types of signs, numbers, dreams, symbols, phrases, share one common feature: repetition. The repetition is the signal. It's what differentiates a coincidence from a pattern, and a pattern from a message. When the same idea, image, or experience reappears in multiple forms, it begins to carve out meaning within your awareness. You feel the pattern rather than logically deducing it. The pattern speaks a language deeper than logic, and that's why it hits you in a way that feels intuitive, emotional, or even spiritual. To understand why signs appear, it helps to explore the psychological, spiritual mechanism behind them. When someone is undergoing an awakening, whether emotional, intellectual, or spiritual, their perception sharpens. They become more sensitive to subtle cues in their environment. Their mind stops filtering out certain stimuli because it recognizes that something important is happening internally. During times of change, the mind becomes more open to input from both the conscious and subconscious layers of thought. That openness makes it easier to see connections that would have been ignored before. This heightened perception is not random, it is a byproduct of expanding awareness. People in awakening phases often describe feeling more present, more observant, or more reflective. They begin noticing things that others overlook. They become attuned to rhythms, timing, and emotional shifts. They pick up on underlying intentions during conversations, or they sense when they should pause, move forward, or redirect themselves. This sensitivity makes them more likely to recognize patterns forming around them. It isn't necessarily that more signs suddenly appear. Rather, the person becomes capable of seeing what was always there, but previously blended into the background. On a deeper spiritual level, some traditions suggest that signs appear because a person is aligning with their inner path. When someone begins stepping into a more authentic version of themselves, the external world can reflect that alignment through symbolic cues. This doesn't require mystical explanation. It is rooted in the interplay between inner state and outward perception. When the inner state shifts, the outer world becomes easier to interpret. The individual begins to see connections between thoughts and events, desires and opportunities, questions and answers. The world feels more responsive because the individual is finally listening. It's essential to understand that signs themselves are not the message. They are indicators. They alert you to the fact that your internal frequency, your mindset, intuition, or spiritual awareness is shifting into a clearer state. Signs act like subtle markers along the path, letting you know that you are moving in a direction aligned with your growth. They do not provide the full explanation, nor do they constitute detailed instructions. Rather, they point towards something that deserves your attention. They invite you to look inward and decode what the pattern means in the context of your personal journey. A repeating number like 111 does not tell you what decision to make. A recurring dream does not explicitly explain which path you should follow. A phrase you keep hearing doesn't dictate what action you must take. Instead, these signs prompt you to pause, reflect, and examine the state of your life with greater clarity. Signs create a moment of awareness, a break in the usual flow of your thoughts, reminding you that you're not drifting aimlessly through your experiences. You're being guided toward understanding something that has been simmering beneath your consciousness. When signs appear frequently, it's often because your inner world is attempting to synchronize with your outer world. This synchronization can be subtle, but when it becomes strong enough, you feel it. You sense that something is converging. In this convergence, signs serve as checkpoints, not roadmaps. They help you confirm that the direction you're sensing internally is not a random impulse, but part of a broader pattern. The more aligned you become with your intuition and deeper purpose, the more noticeable these signs become. It's similar to tuning a radio. When you're slightly off frequency, the message crackles and fades. But when you tune correctly, the signal becomes clear. Signs appear when you are tuning closer to clarity. Seeing signs repeatedly doesn't mean something is about to happen to you. It means something is happening within you. The external repetition is a reflection of the internal shift. If your awareness were not expanding, the signs would remain invisible. They appear because you are ready to perceive them. They continue because you are on the threshold of insight. They intensify because you are moving toward a version of yourself that is more aligned, more conscious, and more attuned to meaning. Signs do not shape your path, they illuminate it. Not everyone experiences recurring signs the same way, and not everyone interprets them with the same level of awareness. Two people can walk through the same moment in life, witness the same sequence of events, or encounter the same patterns, yet only one of them notices that something unusual is happening. This difference is not about intelligence or luck, it's about sensitivity. The individual who sees the signs is someone whose perception has sharpened enough to detect subtle shifts that others overlook. In the context of the chosen one archetype, this sensitivity is not accidental. It is a natural part of the personal progression that certain individuals undergo as they move into new phases of growth, responsibility, and self-understanding. When signs appear repeatedly in the life of someone experiencing a deeper awakening, they often indicate the beginning of a new cycle of personal growth. Growth rarely starts with clarity. It typically begins with tension, confusion, or an internal sense that something is no longer fitting the way it once did. A person might feel restless without knowing why. Their interests shift. Their priorities change. They experience an inner pull towards something they cannot fully articulate. Signs emerge during these transitional periods as markers that confirm the shift is real, even if the individual hasn't consciously named it yet. The signs are subtle indicators that something inside is preparing to evolve. They show up because the person is entering a stage in which they will shed old patterns, develop new strengths, and deepen their understanding of themselves. The signs serve as early signals that the transformation has already begun, whether the person recognizes it consciously or not. This shift into a new growth cycle is not always comfortable. It can feel like the ground beneath your feet is moving before you've had the chance to stabilize yourself. Repeating numbers or recurring dreams become a form of reassurance. They act like quiet whispers that tell you not to fear the unfolding process. They remind you that the discomfort, the uncertainty, and even the moments of emotional turbulence are part of something larger. These signs do not claim to remove the challenges ahead. They simply verify that the path you're stepping into is necessary for your evolution. Another layer of meaning behind these signs relates to guidance. People who are attuned enough to notice signs are often in a phase of life where decision-making becomes critical. They may be choosing between paths, evaluating relationships, questioning careers, or reconsidering long-held beliefs. In such moments, missteps can have larger consequences. A person undergoing an awakening phase is more vulnerable to distractions, false opportunities, or choices that lead them away from their authentic direction. Signs appear during these transitional points as a subtle navigation system, encouraging the individual to pause before rushing into decisions that do not align with their deeper truth. The signs do not dictate a specific choice, but they alert the person that their attention is needed. This form of guidance can manifest through the sudden intensification of signs around certain thoughts or decisions. If someone is considering a path that does not align with their growth, the signs may seem to disappear or feel muted. If they are contemplating a direction that resonates with their deeper purpose, the signs might become louder, more noticeable, and more frequent. These fluctuations are not magical commands. They are reflections of the inner alignment process. The subconscious mind recognizes truth long before the conscious mind admits it, and signs often surface at the threshold where these two layers of awareness collide. For example, someone might see repeating numbers every time they think about making a certain change in their life. Another person might hear a specific phrase on the days they feel torn between staying where they are or stepping forward into something uncertain. Another might repeatedly encounter symbols linked to courage, transformation, or intuition during a period when fear is holding them back. These signs become reminders to slow down, observe, and choose with intention rather than impulse. They help protect the individual from veering too far off their authentic course. Beyond growth and guidance, recurring signs carry a third essential meaning. They reflect the existence of a unique role or purpose within the individual. Being the chosen one is not about being superior or predestined in a dramatic, mythical sense. It is about being someone who is capable of perceiving and interpreting subtle information that others usually ignore. Every person has potential, but not every person is willing to confront their deeper self, take responsibility for their path, or evolve beyond their comfort zone. The individuals who consistently see and respond to signs are those who are actively engaging with the internal journey required to live purposefully. Signs appear for people with a heightened sense of purpose because they are more likely to follow through on the insights those signs highlight. Someone who is spiritually or psychologically asleep will not notice or care about synchronicities. Someone who is half awake might see them, but brush them off. Someone who is fully awake sees them, analyzes them, and uses the information to understand their direction. This capacity to interpret subtle signals is what positions a person as chosen. Not chosen by an external force, but chosen by their own willingness to see and act with clarity. Purpose does not always reveal itself in dramatic revelations. In reality, purpose often unfolds slowly, through confirmations, inner nudges, and external reflections that accumulate over time. Signs are part of that accumulation. They confirm the person's internal alignment, reinforce their commitment to their path, and strengthen their trust in their ability to navigate uncertainty. When someone repeatedly encounters signs, it often indicates that they are already walking in the direction of their purpose, even if they do not yet understand what that purpose is in full detail. The signs simply encourage them to continue. Understanding these signs requires acknowledging that they are not supernatural messages. They are not magic. They are data. They are patterns in the environment that align with patterns in the mind. The mind processes thousands of pieces of information every second, most of which remain unnoticed unless something in your awareness brings them into focus. When signs appear repeatedly, it means your internal system has flagged something as significant. The signs you notice are reflections of the deeper processes taking place in your subconscious. They reveal what your intuition already knows, but your conscious mind cannot yet articulate. Someone who does not notice signs is not being left out of a divine communication. Their internal system simply has not reached the state of receptiveness required to highlight these patterns. The chosen one is not someone who receives more signs than others. They are someone who recognizes the signs others fail to see. They are someone who processes the data that others overlook. They are someone who can interpret patterns and understand meaning in places where others see randomness. This capacity gives them a strategic advantage in life's transitions. It helps them sense the right timing, the right direction, and the right opportunities. It also helps them avoid traps, distractions, and unnecessary detours. When you strip away the mystical framing, signs serve a very practical function. They sharpen your awareness, they strengthen your intuition, They align your decisions with the version of yourself you are becoming. They push you toward growth when you hesitate and hold you back when you try to rush prematurely. They point you toward purpose when you feel lost. They provide reassurance during uncertainty. They are signals, not commands. They are reflections, not instructions. They are mirrors showing you the evolving shape of your path. Understanding signs is only one half of the journey. The other half lies in how you respond to them. For many people, signs come and go without leaving much impact because they never take the time to interact with what they're seeing. They notice a repeating number here, a symbolic dream there, maybe a phrase that keeps appearing in different places. But after a moment of curiosity, the insight fades and they return to daily routines. The signs become passing moments instead of meaningful pieces of information. To move beyond passive noticing, you must begin engaging with the signs intentionally. This shifts you from being a spectator of synchronicities to being an interpreter of them, and interpretation is where transformation begins. One of the most effective ways to engage with signs is through journaling. Writing down what you see, when you see it, and how you feel in that moment creates a bridge between the external event and your internal world. A sign is like a snapshot of the psychological or spiritual state you were in when it appeared. When you journal consistently, you gather multiple snapshots that eventually form a clear picture of your journey. You might not understand a repeating number the first time it shows up, but when you write it down and later see that it appeared again on days when you were contemplating the same decision or facing the same internal struggle, the pattern becomes undeniable. Journaling gives structure to intuition. It anchors subtle experiences into something concrete, allowing you to track your evolution with clarity. Beyond writing, engaging with signs also means comparing them with real-life situations. Signs do not have meaning in isolation. They make sense only when viewed within the context of what's happening in your life. This requires asking yourself what you were thinking, feeling, or questioning at the moment a sign appeared. If you saw a repeating number during a moment of doubt, the sign may be reinforcing your ability to trust your intuition. If you heard a repeated phrase during a time when you were considering a major change, it may be pointing toward alignment or caution. By comparing signs with your lived experiences, you give them direction and significance. You begin to decode the internal message that the external symbol is reflecting. Another critical aspect of engaging with signs is observing long-term patterns. Some signs appear once or twice. Others appear for months or even years. The signs that persist over long periods often relate to deep themes in your life: identity, healing, purpose, transformation, courage, destiny. These long-term patterns reveal the overarching narrative of your growth. They illuminate the areas where your life is consistently calling you forward, even when circumstances change. Observing these patterns requires patience. You cannot rush meaning from a sign. You allow meaning to surface naturally through repetition, reflection, and time. The signs that stay with you the longest are often the ones carrying the most profound guidance. To work with signs effectively, you must carry the right mindset. This mindset sits between two extremes. On one side is exaggeration, where everything becomes a sign and every coincidence is treated as a cosmic message. This mindset leads to confusion and instability because it removes the grounding needed to interpret experiences accurately. When every moment becomes a sign, nothing holds true meaning. On the other side is dismissal, where signs are noticed but brushed aside, minimized or invalidated because they don't fit neatly into rational frameworks. This mindset limits growth and blocks intuitive insight. The balanced mindset, the one that allows signs to reveal their value, holds awareness without attachment. You don't exaggerate what you see, but you also don't ignore it. You analyze it with openness and curiosity, acknowledging that meaning exists in the space between logic and intuition. This mindset requires a calm and measured approach. When a sign appears, the first step is simply to notice it without rushing into interpretation. Noticing is about observation, not conclusion. Once noticed, the second step is understanding. Understanding comes through reflection, journaling, comparison, and pattern recognition. It does not require immediate clarity, it requires patience. Only after you've gathered enough information to grasp the meaning behind the sign should you move into the third step, taking aligned action. This is where signs shift from passive signals into active forces within your life. Without action, signs remain symbolic. With action, they become transformational. This process, notice, understand, act, forms the backbone of effective engagement with signs. Noticing grounds you in the present. Understanding connects your inner world with the outer reflection. Action aligns your behavior with the insights you've uncovered. This triad is essential because signs alone cannot change your life. They can influence your perception, highlight important moments, and hint at deeper truths. But they do not possess power without your participation. Only when you take action that aligns with the meaning behind the signs do you convert synchronicity into progress. For example, imagine you keep seeing signs related to courage during a period when you're hesitating to make a necessary change. If you notice the signs but never act, the signs simply become emotional noise. If you exaggerate them, you may act impulsively without clarity. If you dismiss them, you remain stuck. But if you take time to understand them, by journaling, comparing them with your feelings, observing their frequency, eventually you reach a moment where the meaning becomes clear. The sign is telling you that the moment of hesitation is the exact moment courage is required. When you take aligned action, even if small, you move yourself forward on the path the signs have been highlighting for you. In another example, someone might experience signs emphasizing patience during a time when they're pushing too hard for something that isn't ready to unfold. If they ignore those signs, they risk burnout or disappointment. If they exaggerate them, they may freeze and refuse to move at all. But with balanced analysis, they understand that the signs are signaling timing rather than direction. The meaning becomes clear only when contextualized within their current situation. The sign isn't telling them to stop pursuing their goal, it's telling them to stop forcing it. Aligned action, in this case, may mean slowing down, recalibrating expectations, or strengthening skills before moving forward again. Signs are most useful when paired with intentional behavior. Intentional behavior means acting with clarity, awareness, and responsibility. It means recognizing that while signs can illuminate your path, you are the one who must walk it. A sign pointing toward transformation does not transform you. A sign indicating alignment does not eliminate the challenges ahead. A sign warning you of a misstep does not prevent the consequences of ignoring it. Intentionality requires discipline. You must choose actions that reflect the insights you've gained from your reflections. You must commit to growth rather than merely acknowledging it. When you treat signs as data, as patterns revealing your subconscious, your intuition, your emotional state, and your inner direction, you gain a powerful tool for navigating life. Data is not meant to overwhelm you, it is meant to inform you. Signs become a feedback system, showing you where your attention is needed, where alignment is happening, and where caution is necessary. They become indicators of shifts taking place within you, not prophecies about what will happen outside of you. And because you learn to interpret the data with clarity, you become someone who moves through life with awareness rather than reaction. This is why signs matter only when paired with intentional behavior. Without intention, signs remain interesting coincidences. With intention, they become part of your growth. Without intention, signs create curiosity. With intention, they create change. Without intention, signs pass by unnoticed or misunderstood. With intention, they sharpen your path. When you use signs intentionally, you become someone who can translate internal shifts into external progress. As we come to the end of this video, it's important to bring everything together and look at the larger picture behind the signs you've been noticing. These signs do not appear randomly. They are not accidental moments scattered throughout your days without meaning or connection. They emerge in response to who you are becoming and the shifts taking place within you. Every sign you've encountered, whether it was a repeating number, a persistent dream, a symbol that kept resurfacing, or a phrase that echoed across different situations, has been tied to your personal transformation. Signs arise because something in your inner world is moving, changing, and preparing to align with a deeper purpose. They are reflections of an evolving identity, indicators that your awareness is expanding and your journey is entering a new phase. These signs also reveal something about your place in the world. They hint at the fact that your path is not meant to be ordinary or unconscious. The frequency with which you recognize patterns and synchronicities shows that you are someone who perceives more than what lies on the surface. You are connected to a sense of meaning that others often overlook. This connection is part of what makes your purpose unique. Many people move through life without ever noticing the subtle signals guiding them. They stay focused on routines, distractions, and noise, allowing the deeper messages meant for their growth to pass unnoticed. But you are not one of those people. The very fact that you see signs and that you seek to understand them shows that you are operating at a different level of awareness. Everyone has a journey, but not everyone pays attention to the deeper layers of it. Two people can live through the same experience, yet only one will recognize the shift happening beneath the surface. Only one will understand that life is communicating with them in a language made of symbols, patterns, and synchronicities. Only one will pause long enough to ask what these signs might be pointing toward, and only one will choose to follow that guidance. Paying attention to signs is an act of presence. It's an act of intentionality. It's a commitment to understanding yourself more deeply. When you pay attention, you align yourself with the messages that are meant for you. When you ignore them, you turn away from your own potential. This is why awareness matters so much. Signs become meaningful only when you acknowledge them, reflect on them, and allow them to shape your choices. They do not force you in any direction, and they do not guarantee outcomes. They illuminate possibilities, they highlight paths, they reveal where growth is needed and where transformation is already taking place. They give you the opportunity to step into a more conscious version of yourself. But ultimately, the responsibility rests with you. You decide whether to follow the insight or return to old patterns. You decide whether to trust your intuition or silence it. You decide whether to move forward or remain still. If you're here now, listening to these words, it means you're already someone who chooses awareness over avoidance. You're someone who seeks understanding rather than comfort. And you're someone who is ready to approach life with intentionality. The signs you've seen are not coincidences. They are invitations, subtle, persistent reminders that you are meant to evolve, to expand, and to step into the purpose that has been waiting for you. If you found this helpful, remember to like, share the video, and subscribe for more.